In this video, we're going to look at the second type of finite state machine, and it's known as a Mealy machine. A Mealy machine is a finite state machine with outputs. In our first example, we had no outputs and we just had inputs and transition from one state to another. In this case, we still have transition from one state to another, but we also have outputs, and the outputs are the second side of the slash here. So 0 is the output, 1 is the input, 0 is the output, 0 is the input, 0 is the output. Okay, this is an example from the site again on Mealy machines, and we have numbers coming in 0, 0, going to state 1. Both of these will output 0. If we input a 1, we go to state 1. If we input a 0, we go to state 2, and we output a 0. Now, whenever we input a 1, we output a 1, and if we input a 0, we transfer to state 2, and we output a 1, the opposite. And here, as long as we do a 0, we keep outputting zeros, but as soon as we input a 1, we switch back to this state, but we output the opposite. And this is important because what's going to happen is this Mealy machine will take some binary numbers and it'll put a 0 in front and shift the whole bit pattern to the right, dropping off the last bit. And we can look at this. One word of caution on this site. This is an excellent site. However, there is a mistake. If we look further and we look at the state transition diagram for this, if we transition from state 0 to state 2, then in the next session we should be in state 2 here, and that's a mistake on the site. Another time here we transition from state 1 to state 2, and in this next one we should be in state 2, so that's another error. So a couple of errors in the state transition diagram here, so word of caution using all resources, that there's sometimes errors. But let's look at this. We're going to start here. Let's get rid of this and start here in state 0. This is going to be our input stream, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. So we move into state 2 and we output a 0. And then we're in state 2, we input a 1, and that takes us state 1 and we output a 0, which is the opposite of the input. The output is the opposite of the input. Then we come over here and we state 1, state 2, we output a 1, the opposite of the input. Similar thing here, we input a 1, we change states and output a 0, input a 0, output a 1, input a 1, and output a 0. The output is the opposite of the input here. And if we simulate this, we have our input data here, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, and we'll walk through it. We change to state 2 and we output a 0 down here. This is the input, this is the output, and this shows us in red here which one we're on. We're now in state 2 and we output a 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, and we're finished. And the output of the Mealy machine is 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, and this is the input, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. So we've inserted a 0 and shifted everything to the right, and you can work through this to get an example. So this is a Mealy machine. So we have a finite state machine, an automata which has no outputs, and we have a Mealy machine which does have outputs, and all of them have states and transitions. Also note that this Mealy machine has no accepting state. In the previous version we had, in the automata, we had an accepting state which we had to get back into. We had some kind of accepting state at some point which will terminate it in the automata, and no outputs. Here we have outputs, and in this instance we have no accepting state. Some differences there. Thank you.